My name is Colin Braddock, and I've been a search and rescue K-9 handler with the Alaska State Troopers for 11 years. My partner is a 4-year-old Norwegian elk hound named Bryn. Before working with the state, I did 6 years with the Anchorage Police Department, and before that, 4 years in the Army as an MP. I know cold, I know wilderness, I know how to read terrain, weather patterns, and animal behavior. I've worked dozens of searches in conditions most people can't even imagine: whiteout blizzards, sub-zero temperatures, avalanche zones. I've found lost hikers, missing children, evidence from crime scenes. I'm trained. I'm experienced. I'm not someone who panics easily or sees monsters in shadows. But on Christmas night, 2018, in the forests outside Palmer, Alaska, I encountered something that stripped away every bit of that professional confidence. Something that made Bryn, the most fearless and driven dog I've ever worked with, refuse to do her job for the first time in her career. Something that, more than a year later, I still can't explain and can't stop thinking about. I'm telling this story now because I need to. Because maybe someone else has experienced something similar. Or maybe I just need to put it down in words, make it real outside of my own head, where I've been replaying it over and over like a broken recording. Christmas of 2018 fell on a Tuesday. I was on duty. I'd volunteered to cover the holiday, so my partner with young kids could have the day off. Bryn and I were stationed out of Palmer, a small city about 40 miles northeast of Anchorage. Palmer sits in the Matanuska Valley, surrounded by the Chugach and Talkeetna mountain ranges. Beautiful country, also unforgiving country. The kind of place where if you go off trail unprepared, you might not come back. The day had been quiet. Most people were home with family. The weather was cold, but stable. Around 15 degrees, clear sky, about 7 hours of daylight this close to the winter solstice. Bryn and I had done a patrol in the morning, checked in with some of the remote homesteads on the edge of the valley, then settled in at the station for the afternoon. I'd brought a thermos of coffee and a sandwich. Figured I'd have a peaceful evening. At 6:47 p.m., dispatch called. Missing person report. A 14-year-old girl named Emma Thorne had gone missing from her family's cabin approximately 12 miles south of Palmer, near the edge of the Chugach State Park. The family had been celebrating Christmas when Emma had gone outside, around 4:30 that afternoon, and hadn't come back. They'd searched the immediate area, called her name, found nothing. By the time they called it in, she'd been missing for over 2 hours, and darkness was falling fast. This was a bad situation. 14 years old, inadequate clothing for an extended period outside, temperatures dropping into the single digits after sunset, and no clear indication of which direction she'd gone. The family was from Anchorage, up at their cabin for the holiday, so Emma wasn't familiar with the terrain. Classic recipe for a tragedy. I loaded Bryn into the truck and headed out immediately. Dispatch gave me the coordinates for the cabin, and I made good time on the Glen Highway, then turned off onto a series of progressively smaller roads, until I was on a rutted dirt track that led back into the forest. The cabin was about 1.5 miles off the main road, surrounded by dense spruce and birch trees. When I arrived, there were already 2 other vehicles there, a family SUV and a truck belonging to Jim Vasca, another trooper who'd responded from a different direction. The family met me as I pulled up, parents in their early 40s, clearly distraught, and a younger son, maybe 10 years old, crying. The mother, Susan Thorne, was shaking as she tried to explain. "She just went out to get firewood," Susan said. "We have a wood pile about 50 feet from the cabin. She's done it 100 times. She was supposed to be right back, but she never came in. We went out after maybe 10 minutes, and she was just gone." The father, David, added, "We searched everywhere around the cabin, called her name. No response, no tracks we could find. It's like she just vanished." Jim Vasca came over, his breath fogging in the cold. "Colin." "Good, you brought Bryn. We need to move fast. Girl's been out here over 2 hours now. Light's almost gone, and we're looking at single digits tonight." I nodded, already running through the protocol. "You got something with her scent?" Susan hurried into the cabin and returned with a sweatshirt, one Emma had been wearing earlier. I let Bryn sniff it thoroughly. Bryn's an air scent dog, meaning she tracks people by following scent particles in the air, rather than ground scent. She's excellent at her job, has a find rate over 90%. She took the scent eagerly, her tail up, ears forward, ready to work. "Show me where she was last seen," I said. David led me to the woodpile, a stacked cord of split logs under a tarp, about 60 feet from the cabin's back door. The area was well trampled, snow packed down by the family's boots. "She was here," David said. "We saw her from the window. She was loading wood into the carrier. Then we looked away for a minute, and when we looked back, she was gone." I examined the area. The light was fading fast now, the sky a deep blue overhead, the forest around us already dark. I had a high-powered flashlight and a headlamp, and I'd brought emergency supplies in case we needed to spend an extended period in the field. Bryn was fitted with her working harness, which has reflective strips, and a small LED beacon so I can track her in the dark. "Bryn, seek," I commanded, releasing her from the stay. She immediately began working, nose up, casting in widening circles around the woodpile. I watched her body language, the way she moved, the position of her tail and ears, the intensity of her sniffing. A good handler can read their dog like a book, and Bryn was showing all the signs of picking up a scent. She circled twice, then locked onto a direction, roughly southeast, away from the cabin, into the trees. "She's got something," I told Jim. "Southeast vector. Let's go." Jim radioed our direction to dispatch, and we followed Bryn into the forest. The trees here are dense, black spruce mostly, with some birch mixed in. The undergrowth was heavy, covered in about 18 inches of snow. Not an easy place to move quickly, especially in the dark. Bryn bounded ahead, her gray coat visible in the beam of my flashlight. She was moving fast, confident, following the scent. We covered maybe a quarter mile in the first 10 minutes. The terrain sloped downward, toward a frozen creek bed. Bryn led us straight to it, then paused at the edge, sniffing intently. The creek was frozen solid, maybe 15 feet wide, with snow-covered ice and rocks jutting up at intervals. "Did she cross here?" Jim asked. Bryn answered the question by leaping onto the ice and heading across. We followed, moving carefully. Creek ice can be unstable, especially where water flows underneath. But it held our weight. On the far side, Bryn paused again, cast around for a moment, then picked up the trail, heading east, parallel to the creek. We continued, pushing through the undergrowth. I checked my GPS. We'd come about half a mile from the cabin now. The temperature was dropping. I could feel it even through my insulated gear. My breath came in thick clouds. Bryn's panting created little puffs of vapor that glowed in my flashlight beam. She stopped suddenly, maybe 200 yards past the creek. Just stopped, her body going rigid. I know Bryn's behavior in the field, every signal she gives. This wasn't her normal alerting stance. This was something else. Something wrong. "Bryn, seek," I said, encouraging her forward. She didn't move. She stood locked in place, staring ahead into the trees. Her ears were flat against her head. Her tail was down, and she was growling, low, deep, continuous. A warning growl. I moved up beside her, scanning the trees with my flashlight. "What is it, girl?" Jim came up on the other side. "She got something." "I don't know. She's alerting to something, but not in her usual way." I could see maybe 40 feet ahead with the flashlight. Dense spruce trunks, shadows, snow. Nothing that looked unusual. No movement. No sound except the faint whisper of wind in the branches, and Bryn's growling. "Bryn, forward," I commanded, using the directive that meant to continue tracking. She took one step forward, then stopped again. The growling intensified. The hair along her spine was standing up now, a ridge of raised fur. I'd seen Bryn face down aggressive wildlife, moose, bears, even a wolverine once. She'd never backed down, never shown fear. But right now, she was terrified. "Colin, something's wrong," Jim said quietly. "I know." I knelt beside Bryn, put a hand on her neck. I could feel her trembling. "It's okay, girl. What do you smell?" Dogs have up to 300 million olfactory receptors, compared to a human's 5 million. They perceive the world through scent in ways we can't even imagine. Whatever Bryn was detecting, it was something powerful enough to override her training and her drive to work. I stood up, made a decision. "We need to keep going. Emma's out here somewhere, and we're losing time." I moved forward, expecting Bryn to follow. She didn't. She stayed locked in place, growling at the darkness ahead. I turned back. "Bryn, come." She looked at me, then back at the trees. Then she did something I'd never seen her do on a search. She backed up, actually backed away from the trail, retreating toward Jim. "Jesus," Jim muttered. "Colin, maybe we should call for backup. Get more people out here." By the time backup arrives, that girl could be hypothermic or worse. We need to move now. I was frustrated, confused. Bryn's behavior made no sense, but I couldn't force her. A K9 handler has to trust their dog, and if Bryn was saying there was danger ahead, I had to take that seriously. But I also had a missing 14-year-old to find. "All right," I said. "Let's try a different approach. Maybe circle around, see if we can pick up the trail from another angle." We moved north, trying to skirt whatever Bryn was reacting to. She came with us, but kept looking back over her shoulder, still alert, still uneasy. We covered maybe 100 yards, then turned east again, attempting to rejoin the original trail. Bryn's behavior improved slightly. She wasn't growling anymore, though she was still tense. Then we saw the trees. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light. My flashlight beam caught something ahead, and for a moment, I couldn't process what I was seeing. Then Jim saw it too. "What the hell is that?" About 60 feet ahead of us, the trees changed, not gradually, abruptly, like a line had been drawn. On our side, normal spruce and birch, the usual Alaskan forest. On the other side, the trees were wrong. They were the same species, spruce, birch, but they were different, twisted. The trunks curved and bent at unnatural angles. The branches grew in spirals. The bark looked diseased, mottled with patches of black and gray. And there were no needles. The spruce trees were bare, skeletal, even though spruce is an evergreen and should be full of foliage year-round. "Is that some kind of blight?" Jim asked. "Forest disease?" "I've never seen anything like that." We approached slowly. The boundary between the normal forest and the twisted one was sharp. You could point to exactly where one ended and the other began. It ran in a rough north-south line as far as I could see in either direction, like two different worlds pressed up against each other. Bryn refused to go any closer. She planted her feet and growled again, louder this time. I didn't blame her. Looking at those trees made my skin crawl. There was something fundamentally wrong about them, something that triggered a deep, primal unease. "The girl's trail leads in there," I said, though I hadn't actually confirmed it. But the scent trail had been heading east, and this twisted forest was directly east of where we'd been. "We can't go in there," Jim said. "Jesus, Colin, look at it. Something's wrong with that whole area. A 14-year-old girl might be in there. Or she might have gone around. We don't know for sure." I pulled out my radio, called dispatch. "This is Handler Braddock. We've encountered an anomaly in the search area. requesting guidance. Static. I tried again. Nothing but white noise. I checked the radio. It was functioning, full battery. But I couldn't get a signal. That was odd, but not unheard of in these valleys. Mountains and dense forest can block signals. I tried my cell phone. Same thing. No signal at all, even though I'd had 2 bars back at the cabin. "Radio's down," I told Jim. He tried his. Same result. We looked at each other in the darkness, and I could see the same unease in his face that I was feeling. 2 experienced officers, both with working radios and phones, suddenly cut off from communication in the middle of a search. That wasn't normal. "We need to make a decision," I said. "Either we go in or we go back and call for more resources. If we go back, we lose maybe 2 hours. That girl might not have 2 hours." I looked at the twisted trees, then at Bryn. She was staring at the boundary, her whole body tense. Every instinct told me not to go in there, but I had a job to do. A child was missing. "All right," I said. "We go in, but carefully. Stay close. Watch each other's backs. If anything feels wrong, we retreat immediately." Jim nodded, though he looked about as happy with the decision as I felt. I tried one more time to get Bryn to move forward. "Bryn, come." She looked at me with what I can only describe as betrayal. Then she lay down in the snow and refused to budge. I'd never seen her do that. Ever. In 4 years of working together, Bryn had never once refused a direct command. She was telling me, as clearly as a dog could, that she would not go into those trees. "Okay, girl," I said quietly. "Okay, you wait here." I tied her lead to a sturdy birch trunk, made sure she had some slack but couldn't wander off. She whined, a high, distressed sound. It broke my heart. "We'll be back soon," I told her. Then Jim and I walked toward the boundary. Crossing that line was one of the hardest things I've ever made myself do. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to turn around. But I thought of Emma Thorne, 14 years old, lost and freezing somewhere in the dark, and I forced myself forward. The moment we crossed into the twisted forest, everything changed. The temperature dropped. Not gradually. Instantly. It had been about 10 degrees on the other side. Here it felt like 20 below. My breath froze in my lungs. Ice formed on my beard almost immediately. The sound changed, too. On the other side, there'd been the normal quiet of a winter forest. Wind, creaking branches, the occasional rustle of snow falling from a tree. Here, there was nothing. Absolute silence. Not even wind. My footsteps made no sound in the snow. Jim's breathing, which had been clearly audible before, was muted, as if the air itself was absorbing sound. And the light was wrong. My flashlight beam didn't reach as far as it should. It was like the darkness was thicker here, more substantial. The beam penetrated maybe 20 feet before being swallowed completely. "This is wrong," Jim said, his voice oddly flat in the dead air. "Colin, this is really wrong." "I know, but we're here now. Let's keep moving." We walked deeper into the twisted forest. The trees pressed close on either side. Their curved trunks and spiral branches created bizarre shadows that seemed to move when I wasn't looking directly at them. I kept seeing shapes in my peripheral vision, human-shaped, just at the edge of the light. But when I turned my head, there was nothing there. We'd gone maybe 50 yards when we found the first marker. It was carved into the trunk of a large spruce, a symbol I didn't recognize. Not letters or numbers, but a geometric pattern. A circle with lines radiating from it, intersecting in complex ways. It looked old, the bark grown over the edges of the carving. "The hell is that?" Jim asked. "No idea. Some kind of trail marker." "From who?" "This forest looks like it's been dead for years." We continued. I kept checking my compass, making sure we were still heading east. The needle spun lazily. never settling on a direction. That shouldn't have been possible. Compasses don't just stop working unless you're near a strong magnetic field or a massive metal deposit, neither of which should be present in the middle of a forest. We found more markers as we went, different symbols, all carved into trees. Some were simple, crosses, circles, triangles. Others were complex, disturbing. One looked like a face screaming. Another showed what might have been hands reaching out of the ground. "Someone's been out here," Jim said, marking the trees. "Yeah, question is, why?" We'd covered maybe a quarter mile into the twisted forest when we found the clearing. It opened up suddenly, a roughly circular space about 40 feet across. The trees ringed it, their twisted branches reaching over the open area like grasping fingers. In the center of the clearing was a structure. It looked like a shelter or shrine, built from branches and logs. Maybe 6 feet tall, dome-shaped, covered in what looked like animal hides or old fabric. There was an opening facing us, dark and uninviting. "Emma?" I called out. My voice sounded wrong here, muffled and distant. "Emma, Thorne, are you here? We're Alaska State Troopers. We're here to help." No response. Jim and I approached the structure slowly. I could see now that the branches were lashed together with what looked like sinew or cord. The covering was definitely animal hide, deer or moose by the look of it. The whole thing had a primitive, ancient quality to it. "Emma?" I called again, louder. "If you're in there, please come out. Your parents are very worried." Nothing. I reached the opening and shone my flashlight inside. The interior was empty, except for a circle of stones arranged on the ground. In the center of the stone circle was a small pile of what looked like burned wood and bone. Old ashes, long cold. "No one here," I said. "Then where is she?" Jim's voice had an edge of panic now. "We followed the trail. Her scent led this direction. She has to be here somewhere." We searched the clearing, looking for any sign of Emma. Footprints, torn clothing, anything. We found nothing. The snow in the clearing was undisturbed. No tracks, except our own. That's when I heard it. Faint, but distinct. A voice, singing. It was coming from deeper in the forest, past the clearing. A child's voice, high and clear, singing a Christmas carol. "Silent Night." "That's her," Jim said. "Has to be. Come on." We hurried across the clearing, following the sound. The singing continued, always ahead of us, never getting closer or farther away. We pushed through the twisted trees, stumbling over roots hidden under the snow. The singing led us on, verse after verse. "Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright." We followed it for what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes. The forest seemed to shift around us, the paths changing. Several times I was sure we'd passed the same tree, seen the same marker. My sense of direction was gone completely. "Jim," I said, stopping. "Jim, we need to stop. This isn't right." He kept walking, following the singing. "But she's right there. We're close." "Jim," I grabbed his arm. "Listen to me. Something's wrong. That's singing. It's not getting closer. It's leading us." He turned to look at me, and in the beam of my flashlight, his eyes looked strange, glazed. "We have to find her," he said mechanically. "She's a missing child. We have to find her. Jim, snap out of it." The singing stopped abruptly, mid-verse. The silence that followed was complete and overwhelming. Jim blinked, his eyes clearing. "What? Where are we?" "I don't know, but we need to get out of here. Now." I tried to retrace our steps, but the forest had become a maze. Every direction looked the same: twisted trees, darkness, snow. My flashlight beam was growing dimmer, the battery draining faster than it should. Jim's light was already flickering. "Which way did we come from?" Jim asked, his voice small now, the professional composure gone. I don't know. I tried the compass again, still spinning. I tried the GPS on my phone, no signal, and the map showed us in the middle of a blank gray area, as if we'd walked off the edge of the world. Then I heard Bryn, faint, distant, but unmistakable, barking, the sharp, insistent bark she uses when she's found something or needs help. That way, I said, pointing toward the sound. Bryn's that way. If we can find her, we can find our way out. We ran, crashing through the undergrowth, following the sound of my dog's barking. The trees seemed to resist us, branches catching our clothing, roots tripping us. My flashlight died completely, plunging me into darkness. Only Jim's flickering light remained. Bryn's barking grew louder. We were close. Then ahead, I saw it, the boundary. The line where the twisted forest ended and the normal forest began. Bryn was there, just on the other side, barking frantically. We burst through the boundary, and it was like breaking through the surface after being underwater. The normal cold rushed back, the normal sounds. My lungs filled with air that didn't feel like it was choking me. Bryn leaped up, nearly knocking me over, whining and licking my face. "It's okay, girl," I said, my hands shaking as I untied her. "It's okay." Jim stood beside me, breathing hard. "What the hell was that? What the hell was that place?" I had no answer. I checked my watch. It was 10:23 p.m. We'd been in the twisted forest for nearly 3 hours. My radio crackled to life. "Handler Braddock, this is dispatch. Do you copy?" I grabbed the radio with numb fingers. "Dispatch, this is Braddock. Copy. We've been trying to reach you for hours. What's your status?" We're okay. What about the missing girl, Emma Thorne?" "She's been found. Family located her about 90 minutes ago. She'd gone to a neighbor's cabin about a mile west of their location. Never went into the forest at all. Apparently there was some miscommunication. She's safe." I stood there, holding the radio, trying to process that. She never went into the forest?" "Negative. She went west on a road, not into the forest. Sorry for the confusion. Search is being called off. You can return to base." I looked at the twisted forest behind us, then at Jim. His face was pale, eyes wide. "But we followed her scent," I said quietly. "Bryn tracked something." "Something," Jim repeated. "But not Emma." We got back to my truck around midnight. Bryn jumped into her compartment immediately, settling into her bed with visible relief. I sat in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel, not starting the engine. "What do we do?" Jim asked. "Do we report this?" "Report what?" "That we followed a phantom trail into a forest that shouldn't exist. That we heard a girl singing Christmas carols who wasn't there. They'll think we lost our minds. Maybe we did. Both of us, at the same time, and Bryn too?" Jim had no answer to that. We drove back in silence. I dropped Jim at his vehicle, and we agreed not to speak of what happened. Not officially. There was nothing to report that wouldn't sound insane. I went home, fed Bryn, took a hot shower. I kept thinking about the twisted forest, the markers, the shelter, the singing. The way the darkness had felt thick and hungry. The way we'd wandered for hours, going nowhere. Over the next few days, I did some research. I looked into the history of the area south of Palmer, near where we'd been. There were stories, old stories, from before Alaska was even a state. Indigenous peoples in the region had legends about places in the forest that should not be entered. Places where the boundary between worlds grew thin. Where spirits or worse things dwelled. Most modern sources dismissed these as folklore, but reading them made my skin crawl. The descriptions matched too closely to what I'd experienced. I also found records of missing persons in that area over the decades. More than you'd expect for a relatively small region. People who went into the forest and never came out. Search parties that found nothing. I never went back to that area. I requested transfer to a different zone and my supervisor approved it without question. Bryn and I work out of Fairbanks now, and we do good work. She's still the best dog I've ever worked with, but she's different now, more cautious. Sometimes when we're out on a search, she'll stop and stare into the trees, hackles raised, that same look she had that night. Like she's seeing something I can't. I trust her instincts now more than ever. Jim Vasca transferred too, went down to Juneau. We don't talk about it. There's nothing to say. I've thought a lot about what we encountered. I've tried to rationalize it. Shared hallucination, some kind of gas leak causing altered perceptions, exhaustion and cold affecting our judgment. None of those explanations satisfy me. Bryn doesn't have hallucinations. Equipment doesn't malfunction in synchronized ways for no reason. And I've been cold and tired before. This was different. Whatever that twisted forest was, it was real. And it wanted us. It lured us in with the promise of a missing child, led us deeper with phantom singing, tried to keep us until our lights died, and the cold took us. If not for Bryn refusing to follow, keeping her position at the boundary and barking us home, I don't think we would have made it out. I don't know what lives in those trees. I don't know what created the markers or built the shelter or sang Christmas carols in the frozen dark. I don't want to know. What I do know is this. If you're ever in the wilderness and you come across a place where the trees look wrong, where the temperature drops and the sound dies, and your dog refuses to go forward, turn around. Don't ask questions. Don't investigate. Don't think you can handle it because you're trained or experienced or tough. Just turn around and leave. Some places aren't meant for us. Some boundaries shouldn't be crossed. And some things that seem lost should stay that way.